And just like that, we are back in it. Game number 6, day number 1. And Monster, we have seen some pretty crazy 50-50 off the drop, but again, taking a step back now, looking at a team like Pixie and Giannis landing at Redline Rig, and currently just fixated exclusively on trying to maintain the most optimal loop path possible.
You know, what I'm really excited about, or what I'm happy about watching play out today, is that all the rumors were true. Everyone who said, I'm landing on this team, I'm taking that fight, they meant it. And they're showing up just like Power Alex and Worthy here, who take down MrSavage for his second game now, back-to-back, and Bugha left in the courtyard here to run for himself. Worthy doesn't want to peek as he's got low HP, but so does Bugha. Alex says, screw it, I'm going for it. Finds one tag, can he get the second? Of course, he can, and he secures the dub there. Back-to-back now on the drop.
Better late than never, after all. And as far as the Power Boys are concerned, Alex and Worthy have finally woken up when they needed to most MDF, because first few matches of the day, certainly not going their way, but to close out here, winning it out over the likes of Bugha and MrSavage of all teams, that's a huge confidence swing.
Very, very well played there, but hold up. I'm holding my breath for a second as Kovacs and Huddy have almost not learned any lessons as far as respecting Scroll and Sky are concerned. It seems like when they get the drop and they have the high ground, they are all action and no fear here. Last game they survived the drop, they made something good out of it, once again making it into the end game. It's very clear that if Huddy and Kovacs perform the same tomorrow, they're going to be up inside that top 10 with a very hefty chunk of money, given that there is $2 million+ of prizing available here in the tournament. So much more to play for than just the bragging rights, of course. 6th place now for Kovacs and Huddy as we get the standings update. And look, the game that Sky and Scroll survived, though, they made something great out of it too. So these are clearly two very good teams.
Without a doubt. More on that later on, though, because right now it's all about Clicks and Veno. They have full-on trapped Damo and Resigns inside of the tunnel now. Here next to Sandy steps, Resigns trying to do it again, but Veno is relentless with the pressure. Clicks, on the other hand, eats way too much damage. That could be so problematic. Damo and Resigns, they're going to manage to escape because Clicks has to fall back. There is no other option. They cannot afford to fall here. They are still maintaining a position within the top 10, but the fact that they've managed to fluctuate outside of top 5, that's a position that can be really difficult to come back from, especially when you remember tomorrow's 1.5 times point multiplier.
Yeah, very scary now as tags come in from the distance as well here. Damo and the Resigns are starting to surge with confidence as they push off Clicks clearly, but Veno is there to defend. Now, Resigns looking back, not sure if there's a team potentially sneaking up behind them. You'd be right to assume so can't let his guard down just yet. There is danger lurking everywhere, and it looks like it's about to go down there for Damo and Resigns at the hill, but give it a second here.
The other issue, though, that Veno and Clicks have now encountered, though, is that this exchange is drawn out for far too long. The launch pad positioning that Veno and Clicks like to try and set up for height elevation, try and look for some surge tags, it's going to be cut short. It's going to be stretched out for far too long. And other teams are now having the opportunity to make their approach instead. PeterBot, Pollo already trying to converge onto this location. Forecast Tower in sight as well, potentially, but Aspect, Kazi, they've got to be careful. Lingering around Snooty Station, they don't want to get caught off guard, and sure enough, PeterBot, Pollo, it's all about making it to the launch pad hill.
They're on the high ground right now. If they just peek over, they'll see that there's a lot of opportunity below them starting to develop, but PeterBot's got his attention on the far eastern team here. Glances over in Veno's direction, takes some tags, doesn't quite find them just yet. It's Gyros and Sherry, though, who's building up the high base here. There are roughly 6 teams in this area, all with sight lines on Veno and Clicks.
And it comes as no surprise considering that it's the Forecast Tower that everybody was hoping to potentially get their paws on, but instead, we'll have to sit back and wait to see what happens next here as Clicks, Veno, again, They were just prevented from getting optimal positioning to set up for the forecast tower and launchpad plays, and now they've lost that position entirely to the likes of PeterBot and Pollo, and they know it as well. So at this stage, the only option left is for Clix and Benno to confirm these 2 eliminations now onto Damo and Resigns.
Yeah, they're starting to push here pretty aggressively. Clix doing much better job now as he's side by side his teammate Vino. The opponents, Damo on the run now. Built out to the side there. Clix still curious to the fact that he owns some of the territory here. That's going to be a small victory for them in the time being. Up and over they go.
This is where they had initially trapped Resigns and Damo, but at the same time, Damo managing to sneak around out back, but it's only because of the fact that Giras, Sherry, they have moved in to the vicinity, and now Benno Clix fully aware of the fact that there is just too many numbers surrounding them. It's too close for comfort. They've got to find another way to escape, and the other thing that could potentially be threatened at this point for Clix and Benno is the vending machine. It's gonna be, I don't want to say impossible for them to make their way to those resources, but at the same time, how do you break through all these duos already surrounding you?
Yeah, and again, more points lost as well. It's not just, of course, the game starting to slow down for them. It's the points that they're not accruing because Giras and Sherry have effectively taken those eliminations now. Even Aspect and Kaz are just off in the distance. They're listening to what's happening. Jumping on over to other very familiar teams here. XX Ritual, Reet as well. Kind of inside the Doom stat, but you have Muzz here waiting, almost combed up. Slips out the side there. He's very fast. He's not going to make it easy by any means. Out the wall he goes, but it's a 2v1. What can you do? Reet takes him down without a sweat.
I know it's really interesting to actually see Reet and Ritual clashing this early on with Epicwell and Muzz. A passing comment that Reet made in the player room last night was, you know, we missed out on a cash cup, most recent one. Epicwell and Muzz, they were able to get Mysterio uncontested and all the little goodies that he has to offer, and so have to wonder now, you get a taste of that kind of power and you want to keep going back for it. So Epicwell and Muzz, that might be a fight that they find themselves caught up in for more than just today.
Yeah, that makes sense too, right? You get that false sense of security, like, oh, cash cup went great. Let's
well, it was uncontested, right?
do that again.
You're feeling good. And then Reet and Ritual, though, there to remind them, no, this is still our territory. But again, it could be a clash of the Titans for sure.
Well, Chicho and Trulux have continued to show us that they have what it takes to find their way up the standings here. They've really fought their way up the rankings almost unprecedentedly. No one saw it coming here. But when they make it into the end game, they're just an unstoppable force. You don't really know what to expect from them. You'll find them in the mid ground, sometimes on the height. And all of a sudden now, they are just there.
Trulux and Chicho just have a way of kind of just going unexamined, essentially. Like, it almost seems like they have a very seamless transition from their early to mid to late game, and a big part of the reason for that is that they are just a team that is notorious. They go for the surge bases, they go for the reliable surge tag damage as well. They are just excellent at bottlenecking teams into a certain flow on the map, because wherever they surge base at, you know it's going to be an optimal position that's going to prevent everyone else from participating.
And we did notice that they have the storm information as well, just given to us from that update there. So they know exactly where they need to be, where the next zones are going to be. Moving towards Vico, pushing in on Virgo. Not looking to let them have this for free, but there's armored wall there, and oh, he's serious about it. You know he's serious, and he's willing to break this one down.
Might be here for a minute. Depends. Imagine another one goes up right after the fact. And sure enough, just in case you thought they were done, Vico and Flixie, they're going to be pickaxing for a hot minute to get into this bunker. Virgo and Shadow know that they are functioning with limited time here. And every second just means one more opportunity for Shadow and Virgo to continue to strip the weapon bunker of all its valuable resources, but this is about to be an all-out brawl here for Pico and Pxlarized.
Not looking good for Pxlarized. Shadow and Virgo were ready for the fight there. And another armored wall comes down, so those armored walls are instantaneously put at maximum HP. They clearly have 3 or 4x the health of a metal wall, so it's a good way to slow a team down, especially the second place one, but let your guard down, and now look, team is flying in very, very fast here. We'll get their names shortly. Pxlarized and Vico is in a world of trouble here potentially now.
I'd say even they're lucky that it seems as though Virgo and Shadow were just out of audio range to hear those shields getting cracked.
Well, they gotta get past their own armored wall,
yeah,
right?
It's
a two-way street there.
It is a two-way street for sure, but at the same time, I definitely respect the decision there from Vico and Pxlarized, because that fight back that we saw from Shadow and Virgo defending their position inside of the bunker, despite the fact that it was Vico and Pxlarized, they did not care in the slightest. And I love that out of Shadow and Virgo, because they're a team that's coming in here, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily have many expectations for them, but the confidence that they compose themselves with, even on socials, they are here to try and actually shock the world.
Yeah, they really have matured as players, but look at this. Vico and Pxlarized now find Jerome and Zagu above them. You know, you take us back to the invitational window where Zagu really put up a performance and won over the hearts of the NA region and honestly the global fan base of Fortnite. Bring him here. He's got a lot of work to do coming into tomorrow alongside Jerome there, but the VODs will tell the story. The practice will show. Vico and Pxlarized's preparation clearly coming out in spades here, as is PeterBot and Boyos, and we all know they're guided by the same person.
But at the same time, you have such a strong day one performance. You got to be careful that you don't let that confidence transition into overconfidence. And Vico and Pxlarized, I don't want to call it an overinvestment just yet, but they got a whole lot of nothing after investing a decent bit. I mean, they were practically max mats before leaving that weapons bunker position. They were trying to see if they could wait out Shadow and Virgo, but those two were not willing to budge in the slightest. And now Vico, Pxlarized, they didn't have any other options but to leave in a totally separate direction after acquiring nothing out of it as well. I mean, I get it. You're feeling good, especially after the performance they've had today, but moments like that could be disastrous in day two.
Yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned, it's surely confidence, right? Pushing in like that, but give it a minute here. Acorn and Cold now pushing Zagu, or sorry, Rise and Yuma actually. Rise and Yuma, who started off so hot today, have just dropped their mid games for 3 games in a row now, and it is really weighing in on the standings. They're gonna have to hit the drawing board big time now, as they have went from 2nd place all the way down to 14th now, and that just shows you how good of a couple of games they did have, given that they're still inside a very respectable position on the standings. So everyone who falls now, everyone you see getting dropped here, that's gonna be the end of their day ones.
Poor Bolts, man. He's just trying to break through the armored walls that Kramsu and Clone keep throwing his way. And not only that, but he's got to make sure that he keeps tabs on the team that's also faced up on a hill behind him. Bolts, Bryce, they're not trying to get greedy by any means here. Pixie and Janice are definitely posing enough of a threat that they are trying to be tactical in the approach here. They just want the immediate fight up against Kramsu and Clone instead, but Kramsu, Clone, at least for the time being, they've got the health advantage.
Pxlarized, though, finds himself below the surge. It's all making sense now as to why they realize they have to push a team. Gon and Kwanzi at the Railways are going to be meeting the team that is the king of the Railways at this point. And this is the 2nd time now, right? Almost deja vu here. But this time, Pxlarized and Vico need the damage and the elims to go with it. Pxlarized gets shot first. Gon puts up a great tag there. But the edit comes through and Vico is down at the bottom to catch him there. Fox running out though here. Can the make it come in time? Sure can. So Pxlarized and Vico have a moment here to breathe.
But again, this all kind of stems back to that bunker fight for me, MDF, because they spent so much time that now they are scrambling to try and make up for what was lost in the midst of it. Because they did not get the surge damage that they would have hoped for. They lost a decent amount of their resources, and now they're just praying that they can come out with even more refreshes after the fact, but they've got a long ways to trek through some of that storm as well. All the while, teams like Queasy, Thomas, a little box fight of their own up against the likes of Analex and Sato.
And that really shows you the significant difference of having a strong early game start versus a slow one. When the surge turns on, it is really, really evident how far behind you can be. For Queasy and Thomas HD, they're kind of on that line as well. They survived the first hurdle, but this next one that they know is looming nearby, they will have to stomp past. Analex and Sato here have had a very difficult day one up against Acorn and Cold, only surviving the drop 3 of the 6 times so far, this being one of them. And now they're met with this almost brick wall, this force that is Queasy and Thomas HD. Meanwhile, Quanti ultimately does end up falling here, but not before claiming Vico and earning some points.
And sure, there might be a chance for the reboot ban play to come into effect, but it's likely still gonna leave Flixie and Vico sitting just underneath that storm damage threshold, if not even more so piling up against them. All the while, PeterBot continuing to claim as many eliminations as possible throughout the course of the day. These guys have been leading the charge here, and PeterBot goes for another one.
Oh my
it just
God.
doesn't seem like Analex was prepared in the slightest.
I can just hear the reaction through the headphones of what's going on here in the arena. Clearly the crowd is starting to rally with PeterBot now. Just take a look at that. And the first emote of the day as well. So confidence surging, right, that we've seen.
Flixie trying to stock up as best he can in the Grand Rail Station, but a couple of med kits still might not be enough to deal with this 2-tick zone. He's doing everything he can to make his way across. Bolts in a similar situation, but in fact, it's actually Veno and Clicks on the receiving end, and they're the ones under the most duress here. Veno, he's got a little bit of shield, but underneath that damage threshold, their final lobby of the day is not gonna pan out the way they were hoping. 9th place team in trouble.
Kind of crazy, Clicks and Veno fall. Bryce and Bolts jump up above them, and they were neck and neck on the leaderboards, on the standings. So a very, very critical set of eliminations for Bryce and Bolts, and now Veno and Clicks are set back home, basically having to think about today and figuring out how to patch up their gameplay to close out in top 10 performance for tomorrow. But Bolts and Bryce heating up in the back half of the day here. They almost had that victory royale last game, dropping the ball there, which again, to me, I didn't expect it. I really thought Bryce and Bolts had that in the bag, had it secured, but Boyo was just incredible with the angle finding. Hold up. Acorn and Cold now find Hiras and Shiri. They've almost fouled each other from the south side of the zone somehow, swinging all the way here to the north side.
At the same time, though, they need to find some closure on some of these box fights. Spinks, Dukes, just all a couple boxes away. Thought they were a little bit closer. It's actually going to be Batman, Bugha, and Rapid, who are directly next to them. Siyun and Kadu, though, they don't waste any time. They immediately aggress into Rapid's box. They're going to find one elimination there already. Batman Bugha struggling with the surge as well, trying to do what he can to play for the medkit, but he won't get the chance. Taken down by the last surge tick.
The Elim credit is going to go to Bolts, given that he did the last bit of damage there, but in the end, now there's a lot to worry about here. Siyun and Kadu obviously looking to fight back because they need a little bit of damage as well. Kado's going to fall there. Siyun's going to fall as well. This is to the hands now of Dukes and Sphinx. Where did they come from? Dukes showing up here to jump into the fight out of nowhere.
It's incredible how quickly they were able to close the gap between themselves. They overheard the box fight commotion, and they knew that's their prime opportunity to strike. Bolts as well, finding Flixie, the dominoes effect. They started off so strong here with the forecast availability as well, and yet find themselves eliminated way outside of where they'd hoped to be. And Thomas and Queasy, this could be a huge moment. I'd say everybody inside of the top 5 even. We're looking at Trulex and Chicho, Cold and Acorn. But again, all eyes on the Queasy and Thomas HD currently. They've been doing a fantastic job skirting their way through these seeds.
All I can think about is that PeterBot and Bugha are starting to run away now, having a chance here to really take the lead on the scoreboard. Second place is down and out. Queasy and Thomas HD have to stay in the running now to keep this one close. Meanwhile, look who's running their way on up. Sphinx and Dukes from the back of the line, starting to skip and hop their way to the front here somehow. Bolt still getting active. Nicely done. Finds Zagu. A big elimination for him there. Armored Wall comes out to protect his flank there.
The problem, though, is that Bolt has likely been recognized as a solo. That reveal medallion definitely in range for PeterBot and Pollo, and they're the ones that were shooting from behind alongside Cooper and khanada. Bolt, he was already running low on his material count, even transitioning to this point, and now his final 10 builds, hoping that he can scramble into something, anything. Finds a couple more just laying on the ground, but he's been marked yet again. The pressure just continues to bubble in to his builds.
That's the best part about it, is he just keeps getting marked every time he finds a new spot.
That's so depressing.
And everyone's like, oh, a solo. It's Bolt's just trying to work his way through. Back to the armor walls he gets, though. Very nice here. And it's obviously PeterBot and Bugha. Like, they are just almost toying with him at this point. They could have pushed at any given time if they wanted.
Look at the duality of the loop that they are functioning with. Queasy as well. He's actually got no builds.
No build.
Queasy is just running it at this point. These walls might not even belong to him. Thomas HD in a similar position, trying to climb up over. See if he can find any kind of elimination. At this point, a refresh is the only option.
Queasy found one. Look, he picks up the Elim, gets a little bit of mats there, splits it with his teammate, but the shots are coming in from the front side now. Has to burn what little bit that he picked up just to stay alive right now, and they are nearing the top 15, the next threshold there. Down he goes, all up to Thomas HD now to keep the dream alive, to earn as many points as possible here. But what is humanly possible when you barely have anything to work with?
He can just break into the top 10. I think Queasy and Thomas HD be very happy with the closure on their day one performance. Even more so still, though, Thomas HD, he keeps looking every direction, every second. It's so difficult to maintain this level of composure. But even as a solo, Thomas HD might be able to make some magic happen.
Up above, though, the scanner is still coming out for PeterBot and Pollo. They have all the information in the world. Top 15 now, 28 below. Down body there. Those could be maps, but no, he needs more than that. He needs to drop teams for placement at the very least, if nothing else.
Wow.
Honey falls there. That'll be full credits, I think, for him, but even if it's mats there, some builds too. Gets up on the second layer. Shots come in from everywhere. Gets a couple more placement points, and it's something. But now look at this, khanada, Cooper in the end game, Trulex and Chicho once again here, alive and healthy.
Even more importantly still, they're applying a little bit of pressure here onto Pollo and PeterBot. They are actually forced to just try and tuck their way through the mid-ground. You can tell Pollo, PeterBot, they want to maybe take a jab at the height, but Azures and Rise currently in full control and continuing to ramp upwards. Couple of armored walls expended as well, just to ensure that it's not going to be easy for them to get chopped anytime soon. They've also got the Crowberry Fizz as that emergency exit plan, but Pollo, PeterBot across the way, spotting out khanada and Cooper. The reveal medallion just doing so much as far as helping them to establish exactly which teams, which players they want to aggress.
They are strategically choosing who to target, given that they have all the information that they need. Meanwhile, Geras and Shari are saying, oh, we have a chance to win if we can get out high ground. And they look up. PeterBot spots out khanada inside the zone, gets a little bit of damage, figures the zone will do the rest. Now focus comes in on the low ground, and it's so smart for them to be down here. They're just earning so many points now that they are jumping towards the 400-point threshold here.
Just in the eliminations alone, they've got 7 between the two of them. Geras as a solo, bound to be marked any second here if he hasn't been already. Pollo, not even gonna bother, instantly goes with the left side edit peek, gets all the credit onto that Geras elimination, and now just a raw 2 versus 2 up against the likes of Agers and Rise.
PeterBot and Pollo went from second to first, and now, at minimal, a second place, but Pollo is always the first to kick off the fight, and he does it in spectacular fashion. Now PeterBot steps up to the plate. Agers is hurt. One edit, it's all it's gonna take here to put him down, but Armor Wall comes through to get his teammate the full reset here. He says, hey, let's not rush it. And then they jump down, focusing up to high ground here shortly. Give it a moment now. PeterBot and Pollo side by side here. Rise and Agers starting to fizz it off. Pressure coming in from the low ground. They're running out of materials. Armor walls are done. They're depleted.
Still decent amount of space for PeterBot and Pollo to work with. Keep in mind,
Wow.
Pollo also still has those 4 armored walls, but as far as the health bar is concerned, PeterBot, Pollo, they are fully in the driver's seat. But that doesn't mean that Rise and Agers couldn't turn this one in their favor. They also need a massive game here to finish strong on the leaderboard.
Definitely, this is gonna be a significant moment now. How do you close out day number 1? Second and first, very impactful differences here. PeterBot and Pollo start to swing their way up. They get the angle that they're looking for. Pollo, once again, doesn't quite find it. PeterBot's hurt, though. It's a low ground attack. Pollo by himself here, but the trade from PeterBot up top, he has done what he needed to, and Pollo takes down Agers and clutches out the win from the low ground with back-to-back dubs.
Pollo said it himself. I don't need to worry when I've got PeterBot next to me, and PeterBot could say the same fashion. As long as he's got his duo Pollo, these two can always try to reestablish control.